That was so awesome. So, people who are here for the first time today, what do you think? Dr. Laura forgot to say your mantra. This ain't your mama's church, unless she grew up in Science of Mind or Unity or something like that. But this is just who we are, and I love who we are, because it's pretty extraordinary. I was at a party a couple months ago for the holidays, and I was just talking with somebody, new person I'd never met, and I told him that I was a minister. And his eyes got really big. He goes, "You're a what?" I said, "I'm a minister." And he goes, there's just no way. He looked like a deer in headlights. And then I introduced him to Reverend William. I go, "He's a minister too." And the guy's like, "Shut up." He goes, "That guy, he's a rock star, right? He is in a rock and roll band." And, Reverend William's like, "I wish." But it was really funny blowing somebody's mind like that, because there's, we all come into our life, and we have certain beliefs we have about church or synagogue or what religion looks like. And we don't look like the normal, but we're very spiritual here. And like I was saying, in our religions, our world religions, we teach about oneness and universal spiritual principles. And what I love is that we're here to teach this to the world, because what I know is there's a lot of people who are yearning for that. So speaking of yearning, this month is all about our Science of Mind that we teach here. It's a tradition in Science of Mind centers for spiritual living, others that teach this. The January is all about teaching the first 4 chapters of our book, which is the Science of Mind. And what's really funny, this guy, when we were talking about me being a minister and how mind-blown he was, he goes, "Well, what book do you teach?" He goes, "Do you teach the Bible? Do you teach this? Do you teach that? What is your book?" And then I had to say, well, this is our book, the Science of Mind. And that really went far with him. He's going, the Science of Mind. But this book, by the way, the first version of this book is 100 years old. It's 100 years old. It was written in 1926. Yeah. The version that we teach more often, because it's organized a little easier for us to be able to teach the principles, I believe it's 1938. And so I believe it's 88 years this year. And it may sound like we're old and crusty, but we are not. We are not. But we know the value of the teaching of Science of Mind, because even though it was written so long ago, a lot of what Ernest Holmes was saying is timeless wisdom. And yes, he's written it in a way where you got to kind of do a little mental gymnastics, or you need somebody to help you kind of decipher what he was saying. But still, once you kind of get it, it makes so much sense. So Ernest said this: "We look forward to the day when science and religion shall walk hand in hand through the visible to the invisible." When Ernest Holmes came into being, obviously science was also something that people were really leaning into. And they were really, the unfortunate thing about that with science sometimes is that people stop believing in spirituality, because they have an idea of God or spirit as something that is something outside of ourselves, something that might be like a person, something that they cannot see meshes with what scientific information is bringing to the world. But Ernest knew better. He said there's going to be a day where they come together. And I will tell you, one of the most obvious ways it's coming together in our world is through quantum physics, because they're doing studies about how the invisible energy impacts matter. And so Ernest's vision is totally coming through, where science and religion are coming together. And so what we're going to be going over, Dr. Laura and Reverend William and myself, we're going to be talking about how Ernest brought this into our view. Now, I have to out myself. I'm having an anniversary this month here. It will be 25 years that I walked through those doors. And look at me. I had no intention of being a minister at all. I just needed some spiritual nourishment. I needed to be fed. I needed somebody to teach me about spirituality, because I wasn't finding it anywhere. Because this is how I felt, There has to be more than this reality. Anybody else ever felt that way in your life? Ever? Ever? I had this feeling for so many, decades, just kind of bumping into different philosophies, but nothing kind of hit it here. Because I knew that there was more to life. I had some life under my wheels or whatever. I had some accomplishments, lots of failures, and nothing was quite reaching a part of me that was really, really important. And I was starting to feel that and see that. There has to be more than this. Your soul is calling. Your soul is calling. That's what now I get it. Now I get it. It was my soul calling me to see that there's something bigger that is invisible, that is who I am, that governs my life. I was not clear on that, but I had a feeling there was something I needed to tune into. And Science of Mind gets that. Ernest got that, because I think what he saw was a lot of people who were feeling desperate and alone and disconnected from religion. I think there's religion is a wonderful thing, and it breaks my heart when people get disconnected from it, because I think it nourishes us no matter what. It nourishes the soul. So Ernest saw something, though. He saw an opportunity for those people who weren't getting that nourishment to be nourished with universal principle. Yes, anybody into this dog, the monks? Oh my God, I'm so into it. It's probably way too obsessive of me. But these monks are walking from Texas to Washington, D.C. Because I don't know if they had a vision or they just know that this is what they need to do for the world and our country. And the dog, the leader of the pack, is right there with them. And he's a pretty incredible dog. Look it up on social media. It's all over the place. But it's a really beautiful thing. And for me, it shows the presence of the triumphant spirit, because I know there's so much going on in our world, and there's so many visuals that are out there. There's so much stuff we're kind of locking into that's not feeling good. And when I saw this coming up, I thought, this is 2026. This is the leading of the Spirit coming forward with love, with compassion, with connection with all beings, and the dog is leading the pack. How cool is that? But to me, this really is setting us up for a really great year. To really see, it's not about arguing and being divisive with people. It's about coming together as one with peace in our hearts, with love, with understanding, and dropping into a different energy this year. And to me, this spoke to my heart. So the first chapter of Science of Mind is the thing itself. Speaking of leading the pack, this chapter is setting all of us up to realize the presence of a power that Ernest says is greater than you, that you can use to create a better life. I think it's so appropriate to start with spirit. What is it? How are you related to it? How do you connect with it? And yeah, he calls it the thing itself. And not always, when I used to teach the thing itself, I used to think, God, people are the thing itself, that's so cold and weird. How many of you heard of the thing itself before you came into the center to refer to spirit, the thing itself? But Ernest was really smart. He was really smart doing that, because he saw that it was really important. Let's just take out all the ideology that people know, all of the dogma. We're just going to set it all aside and make it this distilled, impersonal thing so that people can bring whatever they want to their relationship and their understanding of what God or spirit or infinite intelligence is. So he just opens up the gate and says, we're going to talk about the thing itself, spirit. So the study of Science of Mind is a study of first cause, spirit, mind, or that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation, the thing itself. So beyond all of this, inside of all of us, there is an energy that is vibrant and alive, that we all have, that we all live our life from. It is creative. It is expansive. It is wise. It is everywhere. This is who we are. And the study of Science of Mind, its purpose, one of its purposes, is to awaken us to that truth. Because when we awaken to that truth, everything changes for us. And this is the power of our teaching. Emerson, who was also very influential for Ernest Holmes, he read a lot of Emerson. Emerson just opened his mind to seeing this whole understanding of spirit beyond how we've defined it. Emerson said, "Man is a stream whose source is hidden. Our being is descending into us from we not know whence." And to me, this reminds me of what I was feeling when I was wondering, what else is there? That source energy was starting to kind of knock on my door and say, this is what you're missing. I just didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know to call it the thing itself. But it's something that is in the center of our being, that is unending energy. And so Emerson is telling us that's our source of life, not your parents, not this dimension of time and space. Our source of life and energy is much deeper than that. And we do our best to put words to it. Honestly, it's hard. It's hard because it's a feeling. It's a feeling of unity. It's a feeling of life. It's a feeling of creativity. It is a feeling that we all have access to, but many of us have cut it off because of our experiences, because of things that we've come to conclusions about life. And we've locked that capacity up. And Ernest is saying, wake up to your soul. Wake up to that source energy. Let it rip. Let it flow. Because once you recognize it, you're giving it an invitation. Emerson also says this: within man is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. We teach a lot about oneness here. We teach that we are not separated, that we are interconnected with each other. And we all have this wholeness inside of us. Not some of us, not that group and not them. All of us have this wholeness intact inside of us. And we must remember that. We must remember that because that wholeness is so life-giving. And so Ernest is teaching us, as is Emerson, you got that wholeness. You might feel fragmented. You might feel totally like pulled apart or in fragments. That happens in life. That happens. But what Ernest says is that beyond all this world we live in now where we feel fragmented or disconnected, that is just a passing moment. That is just something we're judging, because underneath all that is a wholeness that is always there. So my talk title today is called Fast Track to Freedom, because everything that I have just said is your fast track to freedom. I'm not sure who it was that said that once you realize your spirituality, once you realize who you are, once you really get that, all your worries and concerns and your blocks to your soul fall away. And that is freedom, because that's what Ernest taught. Ernest was all about freeing our souls, because we are all unique expressions of that one. Everybody is different. Everybody is valuable. Everybody is here to sing their own song. And that's freedom. When you can be who you are and stop judging yourself and stop saying, I'm not good enough or I can't, that's impossible, those are not who we are. When we can put that aside and know that we have this spiritual energy in us, as us, through us, working by means of us all the time, when we really know that, how can you believe that you can't have an amazing life? That is freedom, knowing your source. Ernest says the divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. A lot of us have grown up to believe that God is about restricting us. I know it's just something that some people are taught. I was taught that. For those of you that don't know me, I was brought up in the Jewish tradition. And I thought that bondage was God ordained. And when I came here and I read that, I'm like, boy, those handcuffs fell right off. Oh, they fell right off and they smashed to the floor. I love this quote. I was almost going to take it out, but I thought I gotta teach this to you because this is so beautiful. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. How does that land with you? Freedom is your birthright. It's everybody's birthright. We are not here to be restricted. We are here to be circulating our energy, expressing it. Ernest says that all instinctively feel this. I so believe that. I think there is a knowing inside of all of us, and we can smite it, we can shove it away, we can turn away, but eventually it comes and knocks on your door. It wakes you up and says, you got to be free. You got to be free because we are all here to be free in who we are. And I see that as such a heart thing because I think our hearts are here to be free because it is all about love. So Rajneesh said, true freedom is always spiritual, and I love that because I know with freedom we might think, well, freedom to be able to buy this, freedom to be able to go travel, freedom to be able to do this and that, very much this world kind of a thing. But I love what he says here, that it's always a spiritual thing. Because if you're not free inside of yourself, you're never going to feel free outside. You know, there's a lot of people who have a lot of wealth right now. And we might think, wow, they must be really free. They can buy anything they want, afford anything, do this. And I see a lot of people who are imprisoned. I see a lot of people who are imprisoned who have a lot of wealth because they don't feel the freedom of the soul. They're so caught up in needing to amass wealth that they don't realize that that is total bondage to your soul. So Rajneesh goes on to say, it has something to do with your innermost being, this freedom of the soul. And it can't be chained, handcuffed, or put in jail. You know, a lot of us have read about Viktor Frankl, right? He was in the concentration camp, and he an extraordinary consciousness, but he was able to feel freedom in the midst of all that. He felt free inside of himself because he said that nobody can take freedom of choice away from him. So he found a freedom, and it allowed him to be able to work through a very challenging experience and be able to live through it and talk about it. Holmes says, the inherent nature of man is forever seen to express itself in terms of freedom. We are here to express ourselves, not some little thing that somebody told us we're supposed to be or something that sounded good to us, so we'll be that. The freedom of the soul is beyond what we see out here. And thank God for those of us that are willing to really be free because we're bringing all this creative energy of things that have not yet come into be here. New ideas that allow us to feel better and be safer and to enjoy life more. That's freedom of the soul to express itself because that soul, that divine that we are, brings forth information and ideas that allow us to create a better reality. So Ernest says we do well to listen to this inner voice, for it tells us of a life wonderful in scope, of a love beyond our fondest dreams, of a freedom which the soul craves. And I think we do crave that. And the more we feed that freedom of the soul to be what it's here to be and do what it's here to do, the more fulfilled we feel, the more peaceful we feel, the more available we are to connect with other people, to understand, to be compassionate. When we are free inside of ourselves, we pass it around because we feel whole inside. It's an inside job. We tell you that every week. It's an inside job. It really is. Ernest says the road to freedom lies not through mystery or occult performances, but through the intelligent use of nature's forces and laws. The law of mind is a natural law in the spiritual world. When Ernest was doing his thing here, people accused him of being occult or engaging in odd rituals. So he needed to set people straight and say, this road to freedom, to finding your spirituality, is not one that is based on all these occult things. It's about understanding the nature of life and using the law of mind, which I will explain very briefly in a moment, about using the law of mind in your life in such a way where it's constructive, it's deliberate, and it's mindful, and it's positive. So that's how we find our freedom. We learn about spiritual laws, which I have to put a plug for Reverend William. He is going to be teaching Science of Mind, the basics, the foundations in a couple of weeks. And he will teach you, he will decipher, he will give you analogies that will make this 100-year-old writing make sense to you. So I just want to put that plug in for my friend because I know if this is resonating for you just a little bit, you're going to want to learn more. You are going to want to learn more and learn how to use spiritual law because that's the road to freedom, not having to engage in something that is outside of your believability. It's very simple. So he talks about mind and mind. capital M and small m mind. The way that Ernest talked about this field of energy was mind. That there's this field of energy that we all live in, that we all have our life in, and he called it mind. Today we call it maybe the quantum field. Whatever feels like an adequate way to think of that, go there. I like quantum field, I like field of energy, I like universe, it all works. It just means that everywhere present is a field that we live in, and it's filled with intelligence and creativity and love and vibrancy and aliveness. Now the little m mind is how we use that energy, right? How we use it, and you can imagine sometimes we don't use it so well because we're bringing in all of our conditioning, our things that are limiting about us. We're bringing in experiences that are constricting and constricting and constricting that energy into something that doesn't even look like the bigger M. And so Ernest teaches us to be aware that you may have these experiences as you have pulled this energy through your little system of thinking, but you can let go of that and let something bigger do the thinking through you. And I will tell you, I know that sounds kind of out there, maybe kind of big, but if you could just entertain it, just be willing to play with that idea and say, hey, I wonder if I stopped worrying so much and trusted in something bigger, trusted in a divine right action and order is unfolding instead of my little brain that's worrying and making myself sick. I'm going to try that for a day. You will be amazed at what you see. And this is what Ernest is pulling us into seeing about ourselves, that there's a bigger field, and we use that energy, so let's use it better. Instead of constricting who we are and our energy and our life, let's make it bigger so that we can have a better life. The mind which we discover within us is the mind, the capital M mind, that governs everything. This is the thing itself, and we should recognize its simplicity. It is simple. I know it may not sound simple because these words are coming from another century, but it is simple because you have the ability, you have the choice, you have the power to be able to utilize this formless, wonderful, intelligent, creative energy at your discretion. That's easy. You just have to learn how to use it, which we will be explaining as Reverend William will in his class as well. That's the cool thing. It really is simple. The hard part is getting over ourselves. The hard part is getting over our habits that we keep thinking this is the way life needs to be. That's the hard part. The simple part is how to use it. So that's where our work is getting over our little self and seeing that there's a bigger consciousness, a bigger energy that we have absolute access to. There's a power in the universe that honors our faith in it. There is a law in the universe which exacts the uttermost farthing. What the hell does that mean? I don't know. I was going to look it up and I said, why bother? It just means, it's like I'm giving you enough information today. It just means that we live in a universe that is governed by the law of cause and effect. So whatever you're bringing in there, whatever energy you're bringing in, that is what is returning to you. Pretty simple, right? So our work is to have faith in the universe that it is working perfectly. So I'm going to change my thought. I'm going to change my focus to something that's positive, that's something that is open and receptive to another possibility that's not showing up here yet, but I'm going to trust that universe that I have faith in is delivering what it delivers here, which is harmony and joy and love and a great outcome for all. And so we have to trust. That's a big deal, I know. It took me a long time. 25 years ago, I came here, sitting some of you who are here for the first time. I didn't know what the heck I was hearing. I just knew it meant something to me, but it took me a while to trust it because I was hooked into my old belief system, and that's the way it was. But my soul called me. It called me, right? And it said, you can't live like that anymore if you want to have a happy, healthy, joyful life. If you want that, you got to start studying this. And so I had faith, and my faith grew, and it continues to grow. But you have to be willing to trust. That's where it begins with all of us. And I'm telling you, why not? What do you got to lose? Trust it. Give it a week. You'll see amazing things happen. When we learn to trust the universe, we shall be happy, prosperous, and well. We must come under the divine government and accept the fact that nature's table is ever filled. I love this quote because it reminds me that there is a bounty for us that's always available. Limitation is not who we are. Limitation isn't where it's at. When I know that this universe is filled with everything possible that would allow all of us to thrive and enjoy life to the fullest, when we know that's what's here, and we realize that our minds are the one that's limiting us, then we can let go of that and say, all right, I trust that everything's there. Everything's there. When I accept that and know that, guess what? It shows up. So that's for us to move into in our belief system. There is that within us which partakes of the nature of the divine being. And since it partakes of the nature of the divine being, we are divine. We are all divine, all of us. How beautiful. When I look at all of you, it is a joy to my heart because I get to see that divine light popping open. Because I know the words that are spoken here, the music that is sung up here is inspiring us. It is freeing us to let go of what's restricting us because we're feeling the comfort of the soul. And we are that. We are divine, and it reacts to us according to our belief, right? So we got to work on our beliefs and our belief in it. Our belief in it. And that's why Ernest starts his book with the thing itself. Because if you want to take the next step in your freedom, you got to believe in it. And it is different for everybody in this room. I know Ernest made it as vanilla as he could with the thing itself. But you get to figure out what that means to you. In class, somebody said to me, I do not like calling it the thing itself. That is so cold. There's no warmth. There's no love. And I said, great, call it something else. Ernest is just giving you an idea. You get to play with it and make it yours. Make it yours. Make it warm and cuddly, whatever that is for you. Because the thing itself is your thing. It is your thing. And that's where this whole thing starts. So he continues to say that it reacts to us according to our belief in it, and it is an immutable law, subject to the use of the least among us, meaning that this thing itself, it doesn't pick people out. It's not personal. It is very impersonal because it's just energy. It's just energy, and it's reacting to us. So that's where we depart from a lot of the religions of this world, where you have to be a certain way to receive the gifts of Spirit. If you believe that, sure. But we believe the gifts of Spirit are open to all of us, if you believe they are. See, that's where the catch is. If you believe this energy of Spirit is yours, then it is yours, and you get to define that. This is my last slide. No matter what our emotional storm or what our objective situation may be, there is always a something hidden in the inner being that has never been violated. And I know we have our ups and downs in life. I want to say this clearly to all of you. This philosophy isn't about saying that bad things don't happen in life. Or if you believe this philosophy, you're never going to have a hard day again. That is not what we teach here. We teach that when you do have a hard day, there is a power and presence inside of you that can help you. There is an energy that is who you are, that is unlimited in its scope, in its love, in its life force, that you can turn to, and it can guide you through any life situation. And that place inside of yourself is unsullied by any life experience that you have. It stays in its perfection, because it's the perfection of who we are. So he says we may stumble, but always there is that eternal voice forever whispering within our ear, that thing which causes the eternal quest, that thing which forever sings and sings. And that thing is all of us. And so as we begin our Back to Basics month, I just invite you to open up to what we're teaching. Just have an open mind about it. Find where you're connecting with it. Make it your own. But please do give it a shot, because I can tell you, this philosophy saves lives. It improves lives. It inspires lives. And it is something I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine living my life without knowing the thing itself is who I am. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, everybody.